Hello, Adam here, and this is lesson two. The optimizer works for you. I say this because for several years I worked for the optimizer. Specifically, I started looking at a slate, or look at a slate and say, I'm really interested in these players. Some players are just going to be completely off my radar, intentionally off my radar. Like, I don't think I'm going to play this player. And maybe Friday or Saturday night, I start pumping in the optimizer and saying, like, let's just start tinkering around doing the things that I want, kind of getting it ready. And the optimizer would put in players that I had no interest in playing. And they would, because they were such a good value, we'll talk about that in a second. Points per dollar value according to projections, a little bit of foreshadowing there. The player would show up in like 40% of my lineups. And it was a player I was never, it wasn't even on my radar. I don't even really want to play him. But because the optimizer said this player is a really good value, you should play him in 40% of your lineups, I said, well, I don't want to do 40%, but I might do like 10%. So I ended up playing so many players that I didn't want to play because the optimizer told me this was a good play. I don't like that. The optimizer, I was working for the optimizer, and the optimizer was not working for me. And I say this because it's a mistake that I made for several years until finally last year, I kind of broke that trend. And I'll show you how I broke that trend here in a second. Let me first just show you exactly what an optimizer does. And I'm going to use 2023's week one just because it has player projections in here. The 2024 says I'm recording this on Labor Day, 2024, September 2nd, and 2024 projections aren't here yet. Uh, by the way, I don't even look at projections anymore. I don't even use them anymore because JM's taught me a much different way of doing that, which I'll show you here in a second. So, but if you were just doing player projections, you can actually you can already tell who is going to be on all your rosters, on most of your rosters, based on the projected value. So if I sort here by projected value, and this again 2023, you can see that the highest value players, in this case, from a wide receiver standpoint, Marvin Mims, who is projected at 10 points with 3,000 salary, is projected to be the best value on the slate. Now, you probably don't think Marvin Mims would be the best play on the slate in 2023 week one, but the optimizer is going to tell you he is a good play because the optimizer is just trying to give you the most points in a $50,000 salary. And so why wouldn't I put a $3,000 player, the best value play, in a lineup? And therein lies the problem. The optimizer is telling you what to do instead of you telling the optimizer what to do. And JM has a clever way of solving that problem. And what he did was, and it's not set up right now in the Bink machine, but I'm sure it will be in the next couple of days, and it will be from here on out for the 2024 season. He has something called JM's defaults. And JM's defaults set every player's value at 4x their salary. So CeeDee Lamb, if you use JM's defaults, it'll set CeeDee Lamb's salary or projected points to 4x's salary, which I think is what, 35.6. And so his projected value will show up as 4. Tyreek Hill, his projected value is what, 33.8? No, sorry. 30. So I do this right. 34.8? Yeah. It's just 4x's salary. So James defaults literally set every player in the entire pool to have their projected value at 4. And the reasoning behind this, the psychological reason behind this is you need 4 extra. You're shooting for 200-point rosters, right? So you need to make sure that these players can actually get you these amount of points. But what this does to the optimizer is it tricks this is really important. It tricks the optimizer. Because now the optimizer says every player is projected to have an equal number of value. And so it can throw any player at once. In fact, what if you don't tell it what to do, it's going to play every player. it's just a coin, it's a toss up. You can play any player that is on the list. For instance, Trey McKitty will have a projection of 10. And if you don't tell the optimizer what to do, you might get Trey McKitty in your lineup who probably won't even see the field in week one of 2024. But it's going to force you to tell the optimizer what to do. Now, how do you tell the optimizer what to do instead of the optimizer telling you what to do? The fundamental, and I cannot stress this enough, is you could control, and I don't know of any optimizer that does this today. Most optimizers have a maximum exposure, meaning I'll go back to like CD Lamb. I don't want to play, let's say I want to play CD Lamb, but I don't want him in 100% of my lineup, so I might set my maximum exposure to like 30. I don't want more than 30% of CD Lamb. But the Bink machine, and what makes it very unique and special, and how it fits into how JM thinks about lineups, how I now think about lineups, is I can set a minimum exposure, meaning I can tell the optimizer I want between 26 and 30% exposure to CD Lamb. So it's going to actually try to fit CD Lamb in 26% of my rosters. 26 to 30%. Not more than 30, but less than 26 or more than 26. This is game changing in my opinion. For instance, remember our week one breakdown where I said I want to play 50% Tua? I can actually tell the Bink machine this exact thing. I want to play, I go to quarterback, I type in Tua, there's Tua. I can actually say in the Bink machine, if I really wanted to project 50% Tua, I want to play 50% Tua stacks in my 150 lineups. I could actually say, and I would do something like this. I want to play between 45 and 55% Tua stacks. Tua quarterback. This is me saying, I want 50% Tua, and I am telling the Bink machine, I want 50% Tua. And you can do this for all your players. In fact, I actually do this for all my players. And so setting the projected points to be 4 extra salary levels the playing field from a optimizer projection standpoint so that you have complete control over the players that you want to play. And that is how the optimizer works for you instead of you working for the optimizer. In the next lesson, we're going to talk about some of the build settings and stacking rules that I set up. And so you can get a little bit familiar with stuff. I'm going to try to keep it real simple so that you can really focus on the things that matter the most in your lineups.